Welcome to another Aphantasia YouTube clip. Sometimes I start these and say it's stuff I've been thinking about or things that just spring to mind when I start recording. Today's about talking about it to medical professionals and doctors, because it's something that came up recently. Was, should you tell your doctor? What happens when you tell people? Should I tell people? Because it's not easy to explain. All that kind of thing. And I guess the thing is, I would say yes, do tell people, do tell your doctor. The only reason something like this becomes something we don't have to say to people, by the way, I don't see it like that, or this isn't what I experience, or this is different for me, or how do I do it because I want to try and do this, is because it's known about in terms of most people's working knowledge. If you said dyslexia, ADHD, now these are conditions that people are aware of, but to be fair, they are probably things which people consider have a detrimental impact to most people's lives. Now, I'm saying some people will say this, others will say it doesn't affect me. I have dyslexia myself, and I know that it affects my ability to spell and to write from hearing someone speak, because I can't spell the words that I would like to spell, or I miss words out, making the text difficult to read afterwards. So getting back to the question of should I say anything, yeah, I think you should. I think people should. I think we shouldn't be afraid is a word I don't want to use. It's not, you shouldn't have to hide it. If we got something, it's just, as I've said before in other situations, it's like being left or right-handed. We don't say to people, oh, don't say to someone you're left-handed, or don't say you're right-handed. In the same way, we shouldn't have to think about saying, yeah, I've got aphantasia, I can't do that, or yeah, that's different for me because I won't see what you're seeing, and kind of thing. And you say to me, well, when does that apply? Why does it matter? Well, things when I've been out with my wife and we're trying to choose something, or we're trying to think of something, she knows the limitations of what she can ask me to think about in my head, or do we have this at home, or is that what it looks like on the wall at home? These are things I will not answer unless I've got a picture of it on my camera, on my smartphone, to say, oh yeah, it's like this. So they're the limitations I'm talking about. But getting back to the core question is, should you tell your medical professional? I've told my doctor. I have a regular doctor which I see, and I've told them, I've said I've got aphantasia. Now, it was an interesting discussion because they hadn't really heard of it, so I did have to say to them what it meant, what it is. Now, I have the added advantage is I could give them a book I'd written to say, yeah, this is what it is, that they could, which I did, and they could go around and read a bit. But it does make me think, well, what do you say in that position? Well, think about it this way. There are fundamental things that they can use to measure ability. You take the memory one. Recently, I've been having my memory tested by some people in universities in London. There are tests which they're able to do which will test how my memory performs. Now, the interpretation of the results to say if I've got SDAM or other things, that's a different story. But the thing is, the test exists. Now, for aphantasia, you might say, well, okay, does the test exist? Yes, it does. We've seen the VVIQ test that is specially used by Exeter University. That exists. That determines the ability of your visual ability to see information in your head in terms of imagery. Now, that test exists. Now, what you do with it, that's a different story. Now, if the doctor used it and said, okay, I can see from this result you've got aphantasia, that's something that doesn't happen yet, because it's not a condition which they recognise, or something which they even acknowledge within the medical profession even, as something which you can go and get diagnosed with, or anything else like. So I would say don't be concerned about saying it. Now, I know we're all different, and I know we've all got ideas and thoughts about what we say and how we do. I'm just talking about this from my own perspective. I guess, which is probably the easiest for me to do, and not try and put myself in other people's shoes, because we've all come to this from a different place. But for me, I've got a really curious mind, and I know that sharing that stuff helps me, because I think, well, okay, people are going to benefit from what I share or the work I know. In the same way, when I found out about dyslexia, I was benefiting from people that years ago went to the doctors, or children that were tested and went, oh, I can't do this. And then researchers look at it and go, okay, yeah, we can understand this. And then eventually it gets understood a lot more, and the boundaries exist, and people are able to determine within certain limitations what people's abilities are. So I guess back to the premise of this discussion today, it is, what do you do if I know I've got memory issues, and I think I've got the no episodic memory that people are talking about, or I've got aphantasia in probably one or more senses. I think it's okay to talk to the doctor and tell your own doctor and tell them. Now, they may not know what to do with it, and it may be, we'll think about that and we'll decide what later on. And don't be unsurprised if they don't really know what to do or say, because I think that's part of the process. I think that's how it starts. Mine didn't really know what to do. It's only when we talked about it a bit and I said, well, I don't really want you to do anything, but I think it's important to go on my medical record. So in the future, if something happened neurologically, we would know where my start point was. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say today is, you don't know unless you ask and find out. And for all you know, your doctor may be aware of aphantasia and say, oh, I'd like to know more, or how could I help you in terms of discussion? So I think it's good to share that, and with friends and family. Some friends and some family may not be as understanding as others. To be honest, all my friends and all my family have been really good with me in this, because as you can imagine, I've kind of told everyone that I know that I've got this, so they're not unused to me saying, or saying, oh, can't do that, or no, this is different, how does this work for you? So they're used to me asking them a barrage of questions, especially my family. But I think that's good, because it means they know to expect it, they're thinking about it, and when maybe one of their other friends say to them, oh, I think I might have this, they'll be more understanding. So I suppose word of mouth is not such a bad thing sometimes when it comes to sharing this stuff. So anyway, that's my thought for today on the YouTube video. So what to do if and when you find out, and how to explain to others. I might have another go at trying to put this better, because I don't really think I did it the justice that was kind of perceived in my mind. But I wanted to get something down just to show you what I'm thinking, and try and explain the side of, okay, I'm going to go and see the doctor, or I'm going there for something else. I'm going to tell them, or telling a family, or telling a friend. There's quite a lot of detail now out there on the internet and the Facebook groups about people that have, or ask others, and ask people in the community. We're pretty good at telling what we think and sharing advice and ideas, so ask away, I guess. Thanks for watching.